Welcome to those of you who may have just joined us. For those who don't know me, I'm Mike Cleland, President and CEO of the Poway Chamber of Commerce. Poway Chamber of Commerce has held this event since 2010 and partnered with the GDCA as a co-sponsor since 2014. The Poway Chamber of Commerce is nonpartisan. We do not endorse candidates, and it is our default position not to take positions on measures. Any position taken by the GDCA is not representative of the Poway Chamber of Commerce. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to our moderator, Dr. Mark Verday.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mike. So during the break, I had an unusual question. Someone says, I'm not really familiar. Should I be paying more attention to District 2 or District 4 representatives because I'm not certain which district that I'm in? We have, Robin has the map pulled up on her phone. If anybody would like for her to come by and show you that you are District 2 or District 4, those are the only two districts that we have represented tonight, we'll be glad to do that. Does anybody need to see and confirm which district they're in? Thank you very much. Now, and when the voting ballot shows up to your residence, it should only give you the opportunity to vote for your district. Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to those of you who may have just joined us. This is Session 2, the race for the Poway City Council's Districts 2 and 4. Tonight we have 3 candidates for the Poway School District. One is not here this evening, and 2 are Jared Wilson and Vanessa Spriggett. And they are from District 2. For District 4, we have Kaylin Frank and Jenny Maeda. And I apologize. And like Session 1, we have 4 predetermined questions in which you'll take turns answering in rotating alphabetical order. I've explained to the candidates that the clock will not start on Cynthia until they have their first word come out. We're doing great on time. You'll have 1 minute to respond to each question, so we ask that you stand when you're giving your response so that the audience can see and hear directly from you. You'll receive an indication from the timekeeper in front of you when you have 15 seconds left, and also when your time is up. If the stop sign comes up and you're still talking by the time it hits Cynthia's lap, I will interrupt you. We only have 1 microphone, so we will pass it around accordingly. Audience, if you'd like to submit a question for this session, please write your question. And if you don't have a pad to write something on, raise your hand now and we'll deliver one to you. Perfect. We ask that your questions be directed to all candidates and not the slate and not to a specific candidate. We will collect all question slips as we go along, and during the 3rd question, we will gather them. They'll go before our committee of the Poway Chamber of Commerce, and we will either ask 1, 2, or if we have time, 3. Because we're limited on time, the candidates were asked to answer several questions prior to this forum as an opportunity to share more about their background and priorities. The candidates' responses to these questions can be found at www.poway.com. or also www.gdca.info. We will now begin the questions. Did I get a solid response so far?
You did great as usual. I'm going to try to stay out of your business, sir.
Thank you. Don't pay any attention to the curtain to my right. Question number 1. What do you believe the City Council should do to support local businesses? We'll start with District 2. Jared Wilson.
Thank you. My name is Jared Wilson. Thank you for the Chamber and everyone for being here tonight. This is very important. I'm excited to be speaking with you all. I think Poway is a great place to do business in. We have the lowest sales tax of any municipality in the county. And we absolutely have to be fiscally conservative and ensure the city budget is kept properly to make sure that continues. As you raise the sales tax rate, it hurts small businesses. And small businesses are the lifeblood of the middle class. And you see throughout California, the middle class is shrinking. And that is absolutely unacceptable. Can you hear me now? Yeah. All right, there we go. Did you hear anything that I said? And was it okay? All right, perfect. Do I get now? My name is Jared Wilson. Thanks to the Chamber for having me here tonight. We absolutely have to support small business in the state of California, and specifically in Poway. We do that by maintaining a low sales tax rate, the lowest right now in the county of San Diego. We have to cut red tape, and we've seen a lot of red tape added to everything from the state legislature. We need to push back on that.
It is absolutely unacceptable that small businesses, which I said earlier are the lifeblood of the middle class, are crushed with increasing government regulations. We need to hold back on that. We need to keep the low sales tax rate, keep the taxes low, cut the red tape, and additionally, the city has an economic development director position that has currently been vacant for several years. I think we could do a little bit better and hire that economic development director, which would work directly with the Chamber of Commerce and ensure that we bring additional business revenue into Poway and we support the people who do business here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before Vanessa Springen starts, I'd like to ask Cynthia, our timer, to add for this particular question, and only this question, add 15 seconds to the remaining three candidates. Vanessa?
Yes, thank you all for being here. As we know, small businesses employ over 46% of the private sector workforce. And as a member of the Chamber of Commerce with Poway, I've seen a tremendous amount of good that the Chamber has done to improve small businesses here in Poway. I would absolutely support a campaign to buy local. Local sales tax goes to our city. And I think we actually do have an economic development director working out of Santee that covers our area, which we can now, our businesses can take advantage of the economic director from the East County. They are working with businesses in Poway, which is awesome. So we just need to share that message with other small businesses. They create 60% of new jobs. 100% agree with you that we need to make making business in Poway easier and support them 100%. So, thank you.
Thank you. From District 4, Caitlin Frank.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here tonight. I think the number one thing that we can continue to do is make it a place that businesses want to be. We're a safe city. We protect our businesses. We protect our residents. We have high-class amenities. We keep our roads paved. It's a place where people want to be. They want to have our businesses. So I think that's the number one thing, is to continue being a great place to live and do business. Secondly, I would like to emphasize that there are several sales tax measures on the ballot in San Diego County, and Poway is not one of them. We continue to have a balanced budget, even in difficult financial times. We have made difficult choices, like not filling positions and adding employees to kind of expand their workload. I think we've actually been very successful in doing that in Poway, and not having to ask businesses and ask residents to pay more is a huge part of keeping residents. And finally, I really enjoy the role that I'm able to have with the Chamber and involvement. They are super active with all of our local businesses, and oftentimes when I hear about something going on in our business community, it's through the Chamber and through the mixers and the events that they hold. And so I would love to continue to be an advocate for the Chamber and attending their events and all of that. So thank you so much.
Jenny Aida.
So I have 3 friends who are business owners along Poway Road, and I asked them what's the biggest challenge that you faced as a small business owner in Poway. And one of them said it's the cost of rent, and sadly I don't think there's too much that the council could actually do about that. And the other one, sorry. And the other friend said that the process to get started was really difficult. Like there's a lot of red tape, a lot of hoops to jump through, and it took her 4 months to get started. And so also Raising Cane's, even trying to get started, and they've been having their construction dates pushed back for months and months. And so I would like to take a closer look at that process and just maybe do an audit and see where we could streamline it a little more to be more friendly to new businesses starting out.
Thank you very much. Please maintain the microphone, and we'll start with District 2 for question 2. Question 2. How will you handle... please have a seat. Question 2. How will you handle difficult decisions where residents' opinions are divided? We're going to start with District 4. I'm so sorry. District 4. Jenny Maida, you'll go first.
So when opinions are dissenting in the district, I would have to do a deep dive, do some more research and see the pros and cons of what we're voting on, and see who would be affected more, and just weigh pros and cons for both sides.
Caitlin Frank.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I often tell people that that's one of the hardest parts of this job, is that you're never going to make everyone happy, and the most important thing you can do is make the decision that you feel is in the best interest of your district and your constituency. I think I strive to do what I feel I've said. I have a strong set of morals and values and ethics that guide my decisions. I don't waver from those. I learned in my professional career prior to this, I worked for a county supervisor who was very aligned in his viewpoint on what local government should do. And I learned a lot about that. It's not bad to be a little predictable as an elected official, because by giving me your vote, you're asking me to make those decisions on behalf of you. And I would hope that by my message tells you where I stand on those things. Ultimately, I want to know that I can sleep well at night with the decisions that I make, even if they aren't the most popular. I like to think that I'm making a decision that I do feel is genuinely the best decision. And if that isn't always the most popular, at least I can sleep well at night. Thank you.
From District 2, Vanessa Springer.
Hi. I definitely want to be the candidate who listens to the voices of the residents of my district and the residents of Poway when making decisions. I definitely want to make sure that we hear your voices, that your questions are answered, and that your best interests are taken into consideration when making decisions about the city. I've worked with a lot of different groups in the last 20 years in Poway, and we have different opinions, and I think it's so important to encourage dialogue, encourage asking the right questions, learning to ask the right questions when we have issues that divide us, so that we can accurately take into consideration all viewpoints before making the decisions that we feel ultimately to represent your district and represent your district's best interests at heart. That's our job. Thank you.
Jared Wilson.
Thank you. You know, I think one of the best things about Poway that it is a small town, and we're representing the neighborhoods that we all live in here. And I've been walking doors for almost 8 months now, talking to my neighbors about what their concerns are. And there's a lot of people that have very specific issues that they're very fired up about. But there's also a lot of people who love living here and have no concerns. But they need to be engaged with no matter what. We need to reach out to the people who aren't necessarily fired up, but find out what that average person thinks. And I'm doing that right now through knocking on doors and talking with my neighbors. My goal as a Poway City Council member is to fight for our neighborhoods and to know where my neighborhood stands. I think it's also very important that we prioritize. Public safety is our #1 priority. But it's also important to follow the law. I might not like a lot of the laws coming out of Sacramento, but I promise you we cannot spend your tax dollars engaged in frivolous litigation over things that we can't win on. And that's very important for our taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, we'll collect from the audience any questions. It's the last call to hold up. We do have questions. If we could have a runner pick those up, please. Please hold up your slip, and Ms. Rother, Ms. Rother, pick them up. We will not have opportunities to do all of them. We'll do a random draw after they've been screened by the committee. So, likely 2 questions. I also want to thank everyone who's online and dialing in and paying attention to this important event. Thank you very much for your participation. All set? Question number 3. In the pre-form questionnaire, you are asked to identify your top priorities as a council member. Choosing one of those priorities, explain how you plan to pursue that priority if elected. We'll go back to start with District 2. Jared Wilson.
All right, I've learned how to use the mic, so thank you. You saw my priorities hopefully online. I've been a police officer for 20 years in the city of San Diego. I know that the #1 goal of local government is public safety. I'm extremely proud to be endorsed by the deputy sheriffs who work our streets, and the Poway Firefighters Association who protect our homes. My aunt lives at the dead end of Twin Peaks, lost her home in the 2003 fires. She's rebuilt, thankfully, but it was impactful nonetheless. I know that we are absolutely suffering from the high cost of fire insurance. Maintaining a robust fire department, an insurance office class 1 fire department, is critical to making sure our costs of living are low and we can get that fire insurance. We've seen places in California like San Francisco and LA get out of control with crime. I have never thought I'd see the Poway target have to lock up things so you have to go ask for help. I'm glad to support Prop 36 with my friends and ensure that criminals are held accountable, and we're going to make sure that there's deputies on the street to protect us when we need them. Thank you.
Vanessa Springer.
Thank you. I agree and support everything that Jared just said. However, one of my priorities has to do with development in Poway. We've all seen a tremendous amount of development in the past several years, and I'm very concerned that it's gotten a little out of hand. I would like to encourage developers to follow through on promises that they make to the voters. I would like to encourage developers to contribute more to our infrastructure that we give them the privilege to build in our community. I would like to demand that they pay higher in lieu fees to our community if they opt out of building affordable housing. I'd like to increase the communication between the developers and the residents and increase the square footage of notifications from 500 to 1,000 feet. And lastly, I'd like to revisit a planning commission for Poway where residents can contribute and have dialogue with developers building in our community. So, thank you.
District 4, Caitlin Frank.
Thank you so much. I think that all of the candidates up here have fantastic priorities that they're focused on, and obviously I agree that public safety is always number one, that it's a core function. But I want to touch a little bit on kind of my overarching priority, and really is my inspiration for even doing this job, is the future of Poway. I have 3 small children that are growing up here, and we chose to live here because it was where we wanted to raise our family. And I think that things can change very quickly if the leadership that voters put into place doesn't have the right vision for the future in maintaining the high level of services, a balanced budget, responsible use of taxpayer dollars, paying their first responders enough to keep them here and keep them trained and keep them well equipped. I think that we've seen in other cities how quickly that can change. And so for me, I'm always focused on not just what's happening at the city now or next year, but where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be in 10 years? Because I will still be here, my children will still be here, and I want it to continue being that wonderful place that we all love.
Jenny, Aida.
One of my top priorities is conservation. It just grieves me to see how quickly we are losing our open spaces and our beautiful heritage lines. And I think we do really well to return to the original city ordinances and codes that the founding fathers had put in place to keep Poway special, because we've been chipping away at everything that's making it special and kept it special, like the building heights and keeping ridge lines clear. So that's my priority.
Thank you, candidates. We'll move on to question 4. As a Poway City Council member, if elected, you will serve on various boards or committees within county operations. What opportunities do you think that Poway has to influence decisions to benefit Poway? We'll start with District 4. Caitlin Frank.
Thank you. Thank you. I've had the pleasure of serving on various committees for the past 6 years and really understanding how those committees work and what our voice at Poway means at those levels. I think that if you watch the city council meetings, you'll hear the mayor talk about what's happening at Sandag and how our voice there has been watered down based on weighted voting. I think that fighting that and looking at how we can prevent cities like Poway from being overshadowed by City of San Diego, City of Chula Vista, is a huge fight that I think a lot of our smaller cities are engaging on at that regional level, and it's important for Poway to be a part of those conversations. For example, at MTS, which is our public transportation service, I have the pleasure of being the Poway representative. And prior to COVID, they were pursuing a sales tax measure, which I was opposed to, but I fought for, if it does pass, I want to make sure that Poway is getting its fair share, because they were certainly going to take our fair share of sales tax. So those types of conversations, I think, are extremely important to be engaged in at the regional level, and I am happy to fight for Poway in those arenas. Thank you.
Jenny May.
So bought in by these new developers, that maybe we could just cut back on that, just keep to a more simple, slower pace of life and keep the country going.
From District 2, Vanessa Springer.
Well, if I get to volunteer, I don't know how it gets decided on who does what, but I would love to volunteer for the Water Authority Committee. I'd love to understand more about water costs and how our fees compare to other people in San Diego and California. I'd love to learn more about what we can do and learn from other cities about reclamation and recycling water, and can we do this in the future? I would love to volunteer for that segment of the committee, if that's possible, and I would love to transfer those to savings for people in the future here in Poway. Thank you.
And Jared Wilson.
Thank you. I think one of the most important things pressing right now in San Diego County is battery farm safety. There is a variety of different types of battery farms. They're coming as a result of state mandates and needs to our infrastructure. But I think it's important when you look at SANDAG and our relationships with them that we have a county-wide protocol on safety and regulations regarding battery farms. And I think that will assist a lot of the people who live in this community with their fears, that our council, who has to look at a variety of different things, can know that there's safety and engineering going into specific battery farms with regulations, and that we can ensure that our power grid has infrastructure. In MTS, where we have a member sitting on the board, I've heard a lot from people in my community about the lack of busing from Poway Unified Schools, and our children are waiting for 3 or 4 buses to get on. We need better transit to get our kids to school because Poway Unified hasn't been able to accomplish that. It's a safety issue. They need to get there on time. They're showing up to school, and we can really impress that with our member on the MTS board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. Do we have questions for Kiki?
You sure do. You're doing such a great job, and
B plus
and A minus. So this.
We are doing that.
A lot of questions.
Is this one of the 3?
That's one of the 3.
All right, I've got it. I have 1, 2, 3.
He's so fast.
Last. We just finished with going with District 4 finished, correct? 2 finished, and District 2 will start. Here's the question. Can you please explain why our water rates are so high and keep getting higher? Why do we have blocks that punish residents who have beautiful gardens which help real estate values as well as fire retardants?
That's a great question.
Jared Wilson.
Thank you. That's a great question. You know, when I think about, I grew up in Southern California my whole life, and when I think about the California dream, I think about throwing a baseball with my kid on my grass lawn. And I have a grass lawn, and I'm going to throw a baseball with my kid on my grass lawn. That grass lawn costs me a ton of money, though. It is absolutely outrageous. I know that our water prices are fixed from the Metropolitan Water District. There's not a lot of negotiation over that. But we can do a good job by maintaining our infrastructure so our infrastructure doesn't break, and we have extremely high costs to do that. And we're doing that right now in the city of Poway with the largest ever capital improvement project at Lake Poway right now. But I also want to say, I think we can do some things at Lake Poway to both assist with our water rates in terms of higher recreation. I would like to see Lake Poway turn into a reservoir where our children can swim. And that, I think, will open up recreational opportunities and additional revenue, potentially for the water district as well, too. Thank you.
Vanessa Springing.
Yeah, I agree that some of the costs are fixed and they come in, but there are some things that we need to take a closer look at, especially those of us who may have larger gardens or larger properties. They shouldn't be punished when it comes to sewer rates. And I think we need to take a closer look at separating out sewer rates versus water usage rates. Those are very important things, and you shouldn't be penalized for having a garden on the sewer rates. So that's one thing. Another resident in Poway has recommended that maybe the city contract with a company that can come out, work with the city, look and advise if there are leaks, and how can we conserve water? How can we as a community do better in using less water? We send vector control out to help with mice and mosquitoes, and we send the fire department out to talk about defensible space. Let's hire a consultant to work with the city and the people on how we can also conserve less water. Thank you.
District 4, Jenny Maeda.
Conserve more water. Conserve water.
So I think that's a great question, and unfortunately I don't have an answer for that, and I don't think anyone does right now, because what we've been waiting for over 15 years is a cost allocation study, and that basically tells you how much money is above the cost of the Ross water rates and where it's going to in City Hall and to our salaries and stuff. So I think I would put that back on the table if I was elected.
Caleb Frank.
Thank you. The cost allocation survey was never taken off the table. It is actually coming to council, I believe, later this year. So definitely watch for that. There is a portion of, by wearing 2 hats as a city council member, we also serve as water board. There are several employees that wear 2 hats in the city. That actually is a cost savings. You aren't employing duplicate employees versus a water district who have its own HR, its own IT, its own executive director, its own board, all of those. So I think it'll be very interesting to see what that cost allocation study says. Ultimately, we in Southern California are at the end of the water line, and that provides very little wiggle room when we're looking at the price of water. We don't have a lot of negotiation with the County Water Authority, who purchases that water, but what we can do is work to ensure that our efficiencies are there within our district, and I think perspective matters. We are not the most expensive water in the county. We are in the middle. We've done studies regionally, and so I think it's important to remember that everyone is paying a lot for water in Southern California.
Thank you very much. The second question, what is your stand on term limits for city council? And we'll go in exact reverse order. So we'll start first. Vanessa Springer. No, we won't know that, will you? Caitlin Frank.
I support the term limits that are built into public office. Every 4 years, 2 years, 6 years, depending on the office, voters have an opportunity to either re-elect or elect somebody new. I don't support term limits arbitrarily imposed, saying that you can only serve a certain number of term limits. There's a lot of learning that goes into a job like this. There's a lot of relationship building. There's a lot of how to be effective is by learning and building those relationships. And I don't think that there's many jobs where you say that you'd like to kick out someone that you like just because they've been there too long. And so in my mind, I think that we do have term limits, and I absolutely support those. I would not support an arbitrary term limit imposement.
Continuing in District 4, Jenny Maeda.
Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So that's why I'm a huge believer in term limits.
You still have time. District 4. No, District 2. Jared Wilson.
I'm not opposed to term limits. There was a petition going around earlier this year. I guess it got around 1,000 signatures, which obviously would need a lot more than that if it's going to actually pass. If there is a wave of support for term limits, though, in Poway, I would have expected it to have more signatures. I am opposed to using that as a wedge issue to collect money on. I have filed, maybe you know, I filed an FPPC complaint against Mr. Blaine, who is pressing term limits because he never actually followed through on his commitment to do that. And that's unacceptable. When you're collecting money for a cause in the city, you need to follow through on your commitments. And it's not right to collect money from people for a political cause and not follow through on it. So I'm not opposed to term limits. If the voters want that, it'll have to be on the ballot. And we'll see if it gets there. Thank you.
Vanessa Springer.
I also support term limits, but I also understand what Caitlin is saying. The first 4 years, we're learning how to do the job. The second 4 years, we're being effective. And who knows if a third term makes sense to help share the knowledge with new people coming in. I could get on board with 2 or 3 term limits. And if the voters want it, I would support it. And yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. So thank you.
Thank you. We have one final question from the audience. And we will go with exact order down the the wall. And so, Vanessa, you'll go first. The question is, what is your position on Measure H and why?
This question. I oppose Measure H 100%. I am not a, what do you call this, a political an activist. I actually supported the farm. I supported the plan that was put before us. I thought I was an informed voter when I voted for the farm. I loved the idea of a small new tennis and swim club run by local people for the local residents. 100% supported that plan. I feel betrayed by the developer. I want him to build us what he promised. I want the butterflies, I want the social barn, I want the bar, and I want to be able to walk to all of this. And I want him to build a small club. I'm concerned that this is a dangerous location for this facility in the middle of a residential neighborhood. It's simply irresponsible and dangerous to put it at that location. So please vote no on H and join us at our protest tomorrow at 4:30 at Twin Peaks and Colorado Road.
We'll stop you there. Jared Wilson.
Thanks. I'm not supporting Measure H. I do support Prop FF though, and I think it's important that the voters make this decision. I lost my vote on Measure P 4 years ago. I did not vote for the farm because I was concerned about the density of the homes along this whole road with the auditories. I believe District 2 should remain a place for single-family homes. It is not a place for high-density housing. I moved here from Chula Vista almost 10 years ago because I saw density encroaching into my neighborhood. I was living in a very compact neighborhood. And I moved here for the open spaces because I wanted my family to enjoy that. And some of you might be surprised, but I think it's important that we let the voters make this decision. It's not up to a council candidate, it's not up to the city council to make Prop FF decisions for you. It's your decision, and I completely support that. And I know the voters are going to make the right decision in this case, weighing both sides of the issues. And I think that is the way to go in Poway. The voters get this right, the voters should make the decision. I will support the will of the voters either way in this. Thank you.
District 4, Jenny Maeda. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Caitlin Frank.
Thank you. I actually think it's inappropriate for a council candidate to endorse or oppose the measure. If they were to potentially win and be seated as a council member and an issue, and if Measure H were to pass and an issue were to come to council, that council member could be required to recuse themselves, so you've essentially lost your voice on that issue. So I think it's very important for candidates to remember that they're applying to do a job and they want to ensure that they can do that job. For me, I wholeheartedly support Prop FF. I support the right of the voters. I support the voice of the voters, which is why this is going back to the voters. I support the process that led it to going back to the voters. And I think that as private property owners, if they want to pursue something and send it to the voters, they have a right to do that. And that's why I supported the process of sending it to voters. And I think that that is now in your hands, and I don't think it's appropriate for us to weigh in and potentially lose that voice on the council.
District 4, Jenny Maeda.
I am opposed to Prop H because I stand with the small Poway business owners who were lied to and used to get the farm passed. And I stand with the voters who voted for the farm and are now victims of a greedy bait and switch.
Thank you, candidates. Don't pay any attention to the curtain. We have time, possible additional questions? We've exceeded expectations. We'll now proceed to 1-minute closing statements. Each of our candidates have prepared a final closing statement. Afterwards, we will disengage from this meeting, and they'll be around to answer questions around tables in the back or up in the front. In order of candidate responses, first we'll start with District 2, Jared Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming here tonight. Thank you to the Chamber for having us here. This is a great example of democracy in our country. I know there's a lot of division over local issues and national issues, but we can come together tonight and everybody is listening to what people have to say and are engaged. Thank you to the people watching at home. I love living here. My commitment is to my wife and kids to keep this town great and to fight for our neighborhood. But we do that by keeping our neighborhood safe. We keep our open spaces, and we keep the budget fiscally responsible. Now we see when we cross the street over to San Diego, potholes line the roads. It takes you 20 minutes to get a police car or a fire truck. These things don't happen to make Poway a special place just with a flip of the finger. It's difficult. It takes hard decisions. It takes knocking on doors, talking with your constituents, hearing from all sides of the matter, and building relationships. I'm proud to be supported by our deputy sheriffs and firefighters, our deputy district attorneys, over 20 elected officials, both Democrat and Republican, because I build relationships. Thank you. Have a great day.
District 2, Vanessa Springer.
I also want to thank you all for being here and being part of the process and giving us all a chance to express our views so that you can make informed decisions. And want you all, the people who don't know me, I've been born and raised here. My husband and I raised our family in District 2, and we plan to be here for the long haul. We are concerned about the future of Poway, and I want to be the voice for the residents. I'm endorsed and supported by the residents. I am not supported by outside interests and politicians who don't live in Poway. I am supported by the residents, and I think that's really important because in the end, our job is to bring the best interests of the residents of Poway to the table when making decisions about our city. So I thank you all for your support. Please do check out my website if you need to learn more about me, vanessaforpoway.com. And you can reach out to me. I'm happy to meet with you anytime if you have any further questions for me. Thank you for your support.
District 4, Jenny Maeda.
I want to thank you all for hosting this and for having me here tonight, but I actually don't belong up here. I am not a politician. But the real politicians, the experienced politicians, have failed us. They have failed to listen and they have failed to represent. Why does everything have to be chosen unanimously when every district has its own unique set of challenges and needs? District 4 has the highest percentage of blue-collar workers, so things like water rate increases and fire damage from the battery storage facilities hurt us more. So who is standing up for us? Where is our representation? We are sick and tired of being marginalized and exploited. That is why I am here today, to give you a choice on the ballot and a voice on the council.
Caitlin Frank.
Thank you so much. As your current deputy mayor, I'm committed to preserving the high quality of life in Poway. Over the last 6 years, I have worked hard to protect our small businesses, invest in park enhancements like the brand new playground at Lake Poway, acquire more open space, and improve affordable housing for seniors and veterans, all while managing a balanced budget and using taxpayer dollars responsibly. Public safety is always my top priority, which is why I helped lead the charge to prevent a sexually violent predator from being placed in our community earlier this year. My record has earned me the endorsement of the Poway Firefighters Association, the Deputy Sheriff's Association, Mayor Steve Voss, and all of my colleagues on the City Council. With over a decade of public service experience prior to joining the Council, my knowledge and expertise of local and regional government provides Poway with the leadership it deserves. I strive to be proactive, solution-oriented, and accessible in the community, regularly engaging with residents. My husband and I chose South Poway as our home to raise our family because of its safe neighborhoods and community values. I'm deeply invested in the future of Poway as the mother of 3 young children, and I hope to earn your vote on November 5th. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to give a round of applause to all of our candidates, please. And thank you to all of the candidates who participated in our forum this evening, regardless of the election outcome. We truly appreciate your energy and enthusiasm for our community. Also, we know that being a politician is one of the hardest jobs in the world. Every decision you make is not supported by 100% of even your own constituency. You're not going to win by 100% of the vote. And that controversy will plague you the entire time that you serve us, but we thank you for throwing your hat in the ring. Thank you to our audience tonight and your courtesy this evening. Please give a round of applause again, a round of applause in support of not only our candidates, but the GBCA and the Poway Chamber for putting on our work. Any last calls? May I sound the dismissal? No, you're going to take it?
Of course, I have last thoughts. Just thank you. I really want to thank the audience for being respectful. We are ahead of schedule. And so please, if the candidates want to stay, we have 15 minutes. And so we will take this time. We will adjourn. And please talk to the candidates. And we have until 8 o'clock until we need to start putting all the chairs and tables away. So thank you all so much. And I really appreciate your respect and attendance tonight. Thank you.